Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. May God's light and peace and blessings be with you all. This is Ihsan, and I've been offline for a few weeks now. I've had a lot of personal travel that's been taking place as a result of some family obligations, some personal family obligations, as well as spending a little bit of time with one of my friends and teachers and mentors upon the spiritual path. So I've had to, in some ways, take some time offline and really haven't been uploading anything, and it's been actually quite beneficial in many ways, because one of the things that sometimes I think is necessary is for us to change our pattern and to take some time, especially time offline, so that we can re-gauge and re-evaluate what we're doing, how we're doing it, and perhaps maybe take a little bit of opportunity for some course correction. And one of the things that's come up for me in the last few weeks has really been thinking a lot about my relationship with social media and how I want to continue to approach this moving forward. Because a lot of things have been really clear to me. I mean, I sort of see the evolution, perhaps it may be in some ways accurate to say the de-evolution of social media as a platform for content, for distribution, for sharing, for communicating. And I'll speak more about this moving forward. But I do want to just kind of put it out there that I am looking very closely at how I want to approach social media. And one of the main reasons for that is because I have become very aware of how social media is being structured and engineered and designed essentially to create constant and continual consumption. So that's not the topic of this video. I do want to share with you guys a little bit about what's been going on and some insights that I think and I hope inshallah ta'ala will be beneficial for you. But it is something that I will be addressing more and more moving forward, because I do want to kind of put it out there now, though, that it's important to become aware of how you are using social media. And are you actually using social media, or is social media using you? Right? We think that we are consuming content, but what's actually happening is that we're becoming very passive consumers. And any social media platform, whether it's YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat, anything else that's out there, any app that's out there, they're being designed by literally thousands of engineers behind the screens, right behind in the background, to help perfect algorithms and usage methodologies and systems so as to get us to basically continually consume and to continually use any particular platform. You'll notice if you watch a video on YouTube, all kinds of very interesting, and these things are getting very intelligent, very relevant topics and things keep coming up to keep you watching more. And you may think that this is good, right? Because you get access to a lot of relevant information, but it actually becomes counterproductive pretty quickly, because you become, without realizing it, a passive consumer. And you think you're consuming, but in fact, social media is consuming us. It's consuming you. It's consuming your attention. We live in the attention economy. You may have heard this term. And essentially, what happens now is that businesses, which on the surface appear to be free, and I'll put this out there, is nothing for free. There's nothing that exists for free in this world. And if you think that you have access to YouTube or Facebook or Instagram for free, you're mistaken. You're paying with your attention. And it's interesting when you use even language and we say, I'm paying attention, right? I'm paying attention to this or paying attention to that. It's interesting how the language is structured, because attention is currency. Attention is currency. We live in the attention economy now. And by paying attention, you are actually paying. You may think you're watching YouTube for free, but you're actually paying. And you're paying quite dearly for constant consumption on any platform. You're paying with your attention, and that means you are being subjected, and this is why I will not participate in this model. You will not see any advertising. None of my videos are monetized. You will not see any advertising on this channel or on any platform that I'm operating on, at least to the realm that it's within my control. And we'll have to speak about that again in more detail later. But you're paying by being subjected to advertising, and by essentially your time, your energy, your focus, your vision. It's not for free. We'll speak about this more in detail elsewhere. But I do want to put it out there that I am really looking closely at how I want to continue to approach social media. And I do know, and I get a lot of messages from a lot of you guys that you find these videos beneficial and helpful. There's that, and there's also the enormous amount of time that it actually takes to upload and create content. One may not realize it, but there's a lot of time and effort and energy that goes into creating even the most basic content. And this is why I do a lot of these, or I've done up until now, these car videos, because they're quick and easy to record. They don't require a lot of preparation, set up in a studio, any of that, right? It can be easy for me to just reach out, communicate, share something with you guys. And I was curious to see how this would be received. And I get a lot of messages from you guys that lets me know that, you do find this helpful and beneficial, and that God willing, inshallah, with God's grace, it is making a positive impact on your lives. So I'll continue, at least at this stage, to do things like this, but this is why I do it like this. Generally, I'm a bit of a perfectionist, and I like to do things as well as possible, but with all the travel that's kind of been going on and necessary for me in my life the last, not just few weeks, but really the last few years, this has really been the only way to kind of easily and quickly create content. But nothing is easy and quick. I mean, even recording this, it may take 20 or 30 minutes just to kind of get in position and record. But then there's a lot of time to actually, do some minimal processing and editing on the video, uploading it, adding in a description, all of that. So it's at least a couple hours of work. And, we have very limited time available to us these days. Inshallah, we'll speak more about these things in detail in another video. What I did want to share with you guys is I've been doing a lot of traveling for many reasons. And one of the things that I was able to participate in very recently with some friends and with my two younger sons is a whitewater river rafting trip. We got to go out onto the river in Northern California, spend a few days out in the hills and in the mountains river rafting, and it was the first time I've done anything like this. And a lot of insights came up that I think, inshallah, will be beneficial, and I'd like to share with you guys. So just a heads up, this may be a slightly longer video than normal, than I would normally like to make at this stage, but since I've been offline for a few weeks, hopefully it'll be beneficial. So river rafting, and what we were doing essentially is spending some time out on the river. We were accompanied by a few experienced guides in small rafts of 6 people each, in addition to the guides. So 7 people per raft, navigating through whitewater river rapids. Some of the river was calm and peaceful. Some of the river was quite fast and aggressive. And I wanted to share with you guys a few lessons that I learned from the river, which are lessons for life. The more that we spend time in nature and the more that we reflect and contemplate, as we are guided to and instructed to by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Quran, right? Allah is constantly saying those who reflect upon Allah's creation, upon the signs, outwardly and inwardly, we will take benefit. And the Messenger ﷺ said, even an hour of contemplation is more valuable than 70 years of worship. Or it is recorded that he has said this, and it is consistent with his message and his way and his teaching, ﷺ. So it's important for us to take reflection and to spend time in nature, in that which Allah has created. There are 2 environments. There's the natural world, and then there's the man-made world. And I've addressed this in some other videos in the past. The natural world has many lessons for us, has guidance for us, and it has been designed and built and created by Allah's will in a way that serves His divine purpose by guiding us back to Allah. So in many ways, we are all flowing down a river in life. And there are very important lessons that one can take from this. Number 1, life is continually moving forward. We are continually being carried by a river, and we can struggle against this river, right? Or we can learn to work with the river. You'll notice in your own life how much it appears to be a fight and a struggle against what appears to be, what feels like the flow of life itself. And this is anytime we try to assert ourselves, where we try to control the situation. This is a hidden form of shirk. This is a hidden form of idolatry and associating partnership with Allah by trying to be in a controlling position of life. We cannot control life. You cannot control the river. At best, you can learn to flow with the river, in harmony with the river, to get to your destination, which is the sea, which is the presence of Allah. We cannot control the river, and trying to do so is futile and hopeless and ultimately self-defeating and leads to a lot of suffering. We have to recognize that in our lives there is a creator, Allah Almighty, a God, a Lord who is in control of creation, Malikul Mulk, the creator. And we must surrender to his will first. Before we can assert our will, we have to surrender to the will of God. Right? Before we can assert our will, we have to learn to be in a state of emotional equilibrium with whatever is happening in any given moment from a place of surrender. And this is the state of Islam that we are called to. Islam is not just outward observances and practices. Islam is not just praying and fasting and wearing hijab or having a beard or dressing in sunnah or any of these things. That is the outer expression of Islam. But before the outer expression, or in conjunction with the outer expression, must be the internal realization and manifestation of the truth of Islam. So first and foremost, we must be in a state of Islam inwardly. That is a state of emotional stability and equilibrium. Only from there can you take action that will be positive, that will be purposeful, that will be beneficial. You cannot take action from a place of resistance. So first and foremost, in any situation in life, we have to first surrender and then act from a place of clarity, from a place of calm, and from a place of connectedness. When you are calm, present, when you are still, when you are surrendered, you are connected to the presence of Allah. And when you are connected to the presence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the creator, the source, the one, the transcendent, the eternal, the absolute, then his divine support reaches us through surrender. When we are not surrendered, when we're struggling against the river, we are in opposition to the universe around us and we are disconnected from it, and we cannot receive the divine support of God. But from a place of surrender, you can receive and you will receive divine support. That is being with Allah. And when we are with Allah, his support reaches us and we can overcome any obstacle, any challenge. Just by being connected to Allah, many things themselves will correct and unfold and untie themselves, and the way will become easy. But in a place of resistance and struggle against the river, against life, we will have a very hard time. It'll be impossible. It's like trying to swim upstream. It's very difficult. You cannot get very far. It takes an enormous amount of energy and you will burn yourself out. So we have to learn to first and foremost surrender in any given situation and then act. Number one. Number two, we have to learn to work together in harmony and in unison. Now, in any given boat on, for example, a whitewater river rafting trip, you're paddling with a number of other people. In our case, there were 6 people per boat, everyone with a paddle in addition to the guide who was steering the raft. So everyone had to learn to work together in harmony so as to get to the destination by avoiding any of the perils along the way. And perils are many. We have to remember that there is an enemy in the unseen plotting our destruction, plotting your destruction, your failure, your loss of purpose and self, and ultimate catastrophe. And he is not resting and he's not sleeping. In fact, from the day that we were created, he swore to be an enemy to us. And he is not resting. He is plotting our destruction. And there are many perils and pitfalls upon the path, many dangers in life. And I don't just mean physical dangers, I mean spiritual dangers, dangers to our hearts and souls, right? And there is an enemy that is bent on our destruction. So first and foremost, in order to successfully navigate this river of life, we have to learn to work together. Unfortunately, Iblis has now engineered and masterminded a system and in a culture and a paradigm which is based in conflict and in competition rather than cooperation and harmony. And you see this, unfortunately, most manifest within the family unit, within households. It is impossible to reach to any level of success except through working together as human beings, and this is the test of Islam. Islam is about unity. It's about coming together and working as one body, as one heart, towards a common goal. Islam is continually light of God. The revelation and the teachings of any and all of the prophets have sought to bring human beings together. Satan tries to take human beings and disperse them and fragment them and drive us apart. And this happens on many levels, communally, societally, nationally, but most destructively, family. Most destructively, Satan's greatest goal is to destroy the family and to destroy the unity within a household. And there are many tools he uses to do this. Primarily, the cultural paradigm that we are finding ourselves in, the truly insane cultural reality that we are finding ourselves in now. It's completely against revelation, it's completely against guidance, it's completely against goodness, because it is based in me, in individualism, in self-centeredness, in narcissism, in arrogance, in pride, the qualities of shaitan, of iblis, the qualities of self-assertion rather than humbling oneself, of selfishness rather than selflessness. So that is the cultural norm that we find ourselves in. And amongst members of a family, amongst any group, any jama'ah, it becomes impossible to find harmony and unity when there is arrogance and pride and selfishness and self-centeredness. The purpose of human organizations are to work together towards success through harmony, through unity, and it is only possible through love and through selflessness. So while on the river, we have to learn to work together. We have to learn to paddle together. We have to learn to work together effectively so that we can succeed. So I'll just throw that out there. And we'll do a lot more on this topic as well moving forward, inshallah. Next, thirdly, we have to paddle effectively. We have to learn to navigate the river effectively. We didn't just appear on this earth. We didn't just drop out of the sky with no guidance, with no revelation, and we have to try to figure all of this out for ourselves, how to succeed in life. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave us the most perfect path in religion to all of humanity. Right? Islam is not just for Muslims, it's for all of humanity, right? Who call ourselves Muslims. Muslims are simply those who at some level are consciously choosing to follow al-Islam. But there is no other religion other than al-Islam. The Prophet ﷺ was the last messenger of Islam, and all of the prophets of God came to teach Islam, surrender and submission and harmony with the will of the Creator, the will of the Divine. We are not without guidance. We never have been without guidance. From the beginning of humanity till now, Allah Almighty, from love and from compassion for His creation, has been sending guidance, sending messengers. And unfortunately, more often than not, human beings out of ego and arrogance have been opposing messengers. If you're watching this video, inshallah, you are amongst those who are believing and seeking to deepen your belief and to follow the prophetic path, the path of all of the prophets of Allah. Allahumma salli ala Sayyid Muhammad wa ala ali kulli anbiya'ullah. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's blessings be extended upon the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, upon all of the prophets of God, and upon all of those righteous, sincere followers and inheritors of the prophetic path. We are not without guidance, and we have to learn to navigate the river of life effectively. We have to learn how to effectively move through life in a way that will lead us to success. So in the adhan, when we are being called to prayer, hayya ala salah, hayya ala salah, come to prayer and worship, come to connection. Hayya ala al-falah, hayya ala al-falah, come to success. Allah Azza wa Jalla is guiding us and calling us to success. He is not in need of anything. He doesn't need your religion. He doesn't need your prayer. He doesn't need your worship. He doesn't need your belief. He doesn't need your dhikr. He doesn't need your fasting. He doesn't need your beard. He doesn't need your hijab. He doesn't need anything from you. He doesn't need your church. He doesn't need your temple. He doesn't need your synagogue. He doesn't need your mosque. He needs nothing from you, subhanahu wa ta'ala. Everything Allah is calling us to is for our benefit, nothing else. He created paradise for you and out of love for you. And He sent messengers to guide you to that. But in order for us to realize and to grow and to evolve as sentient beings, as creatures, to understand that ni'mah, He gave us free will. He's not going to force us into paradise. Eventually, with His mercy, He may choose to put everybody in paradise at the end. but there will be a difference between those who have followed and believed and those who did not. There will be a definitive difference in akhirah and in dunya amongst those who took the guidance and believed and lived lives of excellence and nobility and honor and humility, of sincerity, of spirituality, and those who did not. Again, Allah's mercy can cover everyone, but even in Jannah, even in Akhirah, there are darajat, there are many levels. And some may continue to live in illusory experience even in Akhirah. Yet there will be some who will be so close and so near unto Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He will never be veiled from them. And know that that is the ultimate achievement, the ultimate success, the ultimate goal, the ultimate happiness, the ultimate everything. Anything and everything, any joy, any love, any pleasure, any happiness, anything we can experience is but a drop from Allah's light and mercy and love and beauty oceans. And we will experience that to different degrees in Akhirah, based on our level of belief, based on how we choose to live. So, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not in need of anything, but He has given us guidance for our benefit, for our success. You're free to choose. You're free to follow. You like to follow, it's for your benefit. You choose not to follow, it's you. It's your results that you will have to accept in this life and beyond. So we are not left without guidance. There is perfect and pure guidance in the way of the prophets, and really in the way of the last and final prophet, who encompassed and encapsulated all of the prophetic teachings from the beginning of humanity, from Adam alayhi salam to the last prophet, Jesus alayhi salam, before Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam. He sallallahu alayhi wasallam encompassed the completion and perfection of all prophetic teachings. He is Rasulullah. He is the messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, from whose light, from the prophetic light that was most complete and perfect and whole in him, all the prophets took from that. So the way of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the real way of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the way of perfection and excellence, is the path to success in dunya and in akhirah, in happiness. Allah Azza wa Jal only wants your happiness. He only wants our happiness. And the true happiness of human beings is happiness with one another. This is it. Happiness, the paradise of a human being in this dunya is their family and their household. And so few are able to enjoy that now because of the reality and the cultural norm that we live in, which is bent on the destruction of family. The true happiness of human beings is happiness with their spouse, happiness with their children, and happiness with their parents and extended relatives, happiness within the tribe. We live now in a reality that has destroyed tribe and community and family. We must be aware of this, and as believers, as Muslims, we have to correct ourselves. We have to be the ones pointing towards the truth so that others can see the way, because we have been given the way. In the akhirah, we will have to answer for how we lived and how we represented the way, if we followed the way or if we followed the rest of the world, running off a cliff, blind, deaf, and dumb. Are we leaders or are we followers? Do we believe or do we not believe? We have to manifest that. We have to be true representatives and deputies of the way by understanding the way, learning the way, because it leads to happiness. And if we do not, we will have to even account and answer to those who did not believe, who were never embraced and came to the way because we didn't represent it, because we didn't follow it, right? The so-called unbelievers will complain against us on the day of judgment of how poorly we represented the way, that we didn't follow it and live it ourselves. So how could they? How could they see it in us? So many people have come to Islam and been thankful that they came to Islam before they met the Muslims. Subhanallah. This is a great sadness for our community and our ummah, and it explains why we're in the condition we're in, last amongst peoples in the world, because we've lost the grace and the mercy of Allah, because we're not following the way of Allah and the way of the Prophet ﷺ. And I don't mean following meaning just observing prayers and fasting and zakat and so on and hajj. We have to follow it inwardly and outwardly. Islam is incomplete otherwise. You can do all of the externals, but if you are not internally in alignment with its principles, with prophetic character, and the Prophet ﷺ said, I was sent but to perfect human character, Our religion is nearly worthless. We're losing, and we're slipping into hypocrisy and then into nifaq and into real heedlessness and unconsciousness. And our deeds will testify against us. You prayed, you made wudu, you fasted, but your heart was in continual rebellion against the way of Allah, the will of Allah, the character of the Prophet ﷺ, and so our ibadah doesn't benefit. It can actually testify against us. We have to follow in Islam inwardly and outwardly. So we've been given guidance. The recipe and the guidelines for success are there. We have to relearn our religion, right, on this river. So in this metaphor, that's learning how to paddle effectively, learning how to paddle in unison together. Next, we must have guides and leaders in our lives that are qualified to get us safely to our destination. And who is a guide? Who is a leader? Someone who has experience, someone who's been traveling up and down the river and who's dedicated their lives to getting people from point A to point B. That is a real guide. And we must have guides in our lives, and we must have leaders in every area of our lives. In your home, there must be a head of household. This is the way of nature, and this is the way of religion and the way of revelation. This is the way of Islam. In your business, in your community, in your government, in a military organization, in an academic institution, there's always structures and hierarchies in place. And it is the work of Iblis to remove those in the family to create chaos and havoc and destruction. This is how the destruction of the family unit has been engineered in current society and current culture. We're removing the structure. We're removing and really destroying that system in which there is responsibility and leadership. So in every area of life, we must have good leadership. We must have leadership. And also know that leadership is a reflection of those who are being led. We get the leaders that we deserve. So before you complain about your leader, wherever it is in your life, whether it's your boss at work or your husband at home or your president in the country or prime minister or whatever, whoever your leader is, we get the leaders that we deserve. This is not an excuse for poor leadership, but before we point the blame at others, we have to look at ourselves. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, I will not change the condition of a people until they first change themselves, what is within themselves. First and foremost, going back to what I said earlier, first we have to submit and surrender and accept whatever situation we are in and attempt to navigate it through prophetic character. Only then can the support and the help of Allah reach us to create change. There cannot be change unless first there is surrender in whatever situation you find yourselves in. And this is from Iman, right? In the pillars of Iman, we believe in Allah, in the holy books, and the prophets, and the angels, and the last day. And the apex of Iman is believe in Qadr, in destiny. Whatever you are in right now has been destined. Khairihi wa sharihi, the good and the evil as from Allah. So whatever you find yourself in, we must be humble enough to surrender to it and accept. And know and remember, you are not here. You are on like I said, a river, a path that is going from point A to point B. This dunya is not your home. This dunya is not your paradise. This is not your Jannah. You are traveling and you are going to leave all of this behind. So don't put all your hopes in this life and in trying to create the most perfect illusory existence here for the short time. It doesn't exist. It's not going to happen. You are here for a short time. You're a traveler. Accept and embrace good and bad. Be grateful for the good and Allah will increase it in your life. Be patient with the bad and Allah will remove it from your life. But it is through shukr, gratefulness, and through sabr, through patience, that you will progress down this river. Not through resistance and fighting and complaining and resisting the will of Allah and complaining against the will of Allah and being a victim. Do not be a victim. And I've touched on this and addressed this in other videos as well. It is not the way, and you will be stuck and trapped if you take that position and that role in life. And it's a very difficult one to take personal responsibility for whatever situation you're in, because the truth and reality is, if you're honest, you were fundamental in getting yourself into any situation you are in right now. If it's not ideal, if it's not perfect, if it's not harmonious, you were fundamentally at play in this result. And the only way to create change is first and foremost to surrender, accept, take responsibility, change yourself, and Allah will change your circumstances. So we must have guides in our lives in many levels. In fact, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, O you who believe, Ya ayyuha alladhina amanu, atiyu Allah wa atiyu Rasul wa ulul amri minkum. Obey Allah, obey the Messenger, and those who have been established as ulul amr, people of authority amongst you. And there are people of authority at every level of life. This is in many levels and many dimensions, in your practical life as well as in your spiritual life. In your practical life, like I said, there must be structures in place. And as believers, we must return to that prophetic way, follow that prophetic path, come together as homes, as families, as units, as communities, as tribes, and be believers in unison, standing for the truth. There's on that practical level. On the spiritual level, there's a class of human beings whom Allah identifies as, on a spiritual level, ulul amr, the people of authority. These are the inheritors of that prophetic light, the carriers of the prophetic light, selfless human beings who have reached to sincerity and trustworthiness, whom Allah has deemed sincere and trustworthy. And they do exist. Islam cannot exist except through such human beings. Islam is not in books. It may be referenced in books, but Islam is only truly realized and experienced and manifest and preserved in human beings, in sincere human beings, those who are siddiqeen. And so Allah Azza wa Jal subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Ittaqullah wa kunu ma'a sadiqeen. Trust in Allah, be with Allah, be conscious and mindful and fear Allah, and be with the siddiqeen. It's a class of human beings that Allah has designated Himself in the Quran, that such a people exist, siddiqeen, those who have reached to maqam as-sidq, the station of trustworthiness. They who are selfless, who have kept their covenant with Allah, who have not succumbed to this dunya, and who are walking the path of the Prophet ﷺ. Those are the inheritors of the Prophet. Those are the ones that the Prophet ﷺ referred to as the inheritors of prophecy. When he ﷺ said that the ulama warathatun al-anbiya, that the ulama, the real people of knowledge, the people of irfan, the people of knowledge of the heart, of reality, of truth, not just knowledge of externals and of fiqh, but knowledge of haqiqah, they are the inheritors of the prophets. Follow them, you will be guided. And if you don't know who they are, if you don't know who one is, seek, ask. Allah will guide you. Seek and you shall find. This is guaranteed. If you seek a way to Allah, you will be provided a means to Allah. You take one step towards Allah, He will take 10 towards you. You go towards Allah walking, He will come towards you at speed running. Meaning that you will meet your guides, your teachers who are destined for you, who you are destined to be with. And lastly, in addition to all of the things I've mentioned thus far, enjoy the journey. Enjoy the journey. Look around and appreciate the creation of Allah in every moment, in every aspect of your life. Be grateful, be present, and Allah's blessings will descend more and increasingly upon you and upon your household. We are given so much ni'mah, so much beauty all around us, but we easily become blind to it by focusing on the problems and the lack of a few things in our lives, and we become blind to the ni'mah. And the more that we become blind and ungrateful, the more we lose the blessings. The more that we are grateful, the more our blessings will increase. So enjoy the journey. It is a beautiful journey. Do all of the things, inshallah ta'ala, with God's grace and support that I've mentioned. Seek to do them, seek them out, and try to keep perfecting and growing and learning and evolving as a human being, as an individual, as a believer, and enjoy the journey. Be happy. My Shaykh, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless him, would always say how much Allah is pleased with happy servants. Really, Islam is about a state of contentment and happiness, and that's indicative of true faith, of one who is truly believing and trusting in Allah, who believes in Allah. Right? This is why they say the Sufi is like a child in the lap of God. The true believer is like a human being who is content like a child, that his Lord and Creator, Sustainer, is going to take care of him. All of his or her needs will be met, and they can be happy and at peace. That is true belief. Happiness is essential upon the path. So be grateful and be happy. May Allah Azza wa Jal bless you and increase us in positivity and in light as a community. Inshallah ta'ala, I will be in touch soon. And to your divine eternal success, may Allah bless you. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.